Katurah was a student, 16 years old, living on the western coast of Africa in a small country called Liberia, her homeland. In a country where women were rarely encouraged to pursue education or higher influence, Katurah had been given an extraordinary upbringing. By age 20, with a college degree in biology, she packed her bags the following year to continue her studies across the Atlantic Ocean at NYU in New York City. She got married to her high school sweetheart and soon was headed home to Liberia. It's now the 1980s. And revolution is in the air. Following the assassination of the Liberian president, a coup d'etat, a counter-protest, and a counter-assassination, the first Liberian civil war breaks out. It had been a rare opportunity for Katurah to travel for school to the United States. And now, even rarer yet, she was going to return for the sake of survival. She fled the war in Liberia and brought her 5 daughters to the U.S. For 11 years, Katurah and her family sought refuge in Baltimore, where she taught at the college level. But even as a teacher, Katurah knew she was still a student. And answering the call into ministry, she enrolled in school in Washington, D.C., earning her Master's of Divinity from Wesley Theological Seminary and was officially ordained in 2001. She was Reverend Katurah York Cooper. But for the second time in her life, she knew she needed to go back, out of her comfort and safety, back to Liberia, back to a country at war with itself. And not only did she need to go back, she needed to give back. She wanted to invest the precious gifts that she had been given into the lives of those that she loved. When she arrived, Reverend Katurah immediately planted a church. And she began reaching out to her community, only to find that the families all around her had been crushed by 13 years of ongoing violence and conflict. The electricity was shut off. There was no running water, only water from wells. Women were being raped. Sons and daughters were being exploited. Was a living nightmare. One Sunday morning, a woman approached Reverend Katurah at church, and she told her, there is a movement that has started, a peace movement. The women of Liberia are tired. 20 peace negotiations have failed, and we are demanding an end to this war, and we need you to rise up and lead your women to participate. But Reverend Katurah was hesitant. She knew what happened to people who had spoken out. She'd seen them disappear before. Yet the women of her church insisted. Reverend Katurah joined the movement. Women from all across the country gathered, dressed in white, calling for peace talks, picketing the United Nations, writing letters to ambassadors and heads of states. The women's peace movement was relentless, protesting for 6 months until finally, at a location in Ghana, Reverend Katurah watched as the peace accord was signed. The war was ending, and she was appointed to serve on the Human Rights Commission. But Katurah's calling was just beginning. She had become a leader among leaders. The Liberian government asked her to speak for the United Nations International Women's Day. Her church continued to grow. A friend introduced her to the Global Leadership Summit, and she soon rose to national leadership, setting up partner sites across Liberia. She served as a dean and then as vice president of AME University. And she became a student once again and is now Dr. Katurah York Cooper. Her work is undoubtedly a grander vision, transforming the lives of youth today into the pastors, CEOs, and governors of tomorrow. And the story is still being written. She continues advocating for women's rights, social justice, and mentoring emerging leaders throughout Liberia. Just as her parents' voice was once over her as a young girl, she is now the voice over a generation of young people, telling them inside of you is a leader, a difference maker. You can shape the world to be a better place.